got Flamethrower from the Rumble as well, so you do have quite good AoE. But the Kha'Zix, who works so well off isolation in the jungle.
Yeah, and theoretically, and we'll get to it in game, is that like the Rumble does most of the damage, you just auto down the Raptors, but
just didn't work out for them that time. We are into picks and bans, so less than a couple of minutes, thankfully. And it's Fiora and Ivan bans once again from Kinguin. Camille and LeBlanc. Rengar's still on the cards at the moment.
Rengar is up. They must have...
Rengar's not open anymore because Kinguin just banned it.
So where's the last ban? Is it Varus? We've seen a bunch of Varus bans come through. Will Millenium ban that away? Woolite played the Jhin last game. The Nami was the response, which I actually really liked. So I feel like it's Varus ban, pick up Jhin for Kinguin potentially.
Jace still available as well.
Jace is still up. So one of those two is getting through.
There's the Varus ban, so Jace is through here. Might be the first pick for Kinguin. Icebeast, I'm sure, will be very happy to get himself on an aggressive top laner.
So will Steel look for his Lee Sin again? As you were talking about going into game 1, it's just been such a big pick for them. And he got 3 kills early on, looked really good. Shen has been locked in.
Yeah, Shen, and it does look like it's going to be the Lee Sin as well. Denying it from Tabasco firstly. Secondly, Steel had a great play, a great game on it in that game 1 as well.
So that means Jhin on this rotation for Kinguin. I'm looking at what else they're going to pick up. It does help if I don't hold my mute button when I start talking.
Yeah, you went to talk and you were just holding your mute button down. It's like, okay.
That last game threw me for a loop, I'm going to be honest.
It's okay.
And the Schalke quick game really was an interesting one. So we got the Jace flex, and that's the Lulu. A lot of priority on Lulu today.
Especially between these two supports. So actually both D-Lord and Norscaran played it in both their games last week. And it can work out really well. You've got the Whimsy, you've got the Wild Growth, you've got such a plethora of ways to protect someone or help them out as they jump into the middle of the team. So I like this from Kinguin. You take it away from Norscaran, especially since Millenium have already started this composition that we saw last game. So you get rid of that extra facilitating factor for Pinoy just to be out of position.
And you got to pick Jhin here.
Yeah.
Like, there you go. Okay, last second Jhin. Which means Millenium, if they prioritize a Caitlyn, would be the response that we saw in the previous game. Otherwise, it gets banned away. There we go, into ban phase 2. And that means Rumble likely going to get banned away by Millenium into that Shen matchup. It was a tough one in the last game. The Icebeast did pretty well.
Do you think the Jace is probably going to go mid then, if you've got the Jace there instead of the Rumble?
I think you're still holding on to the flex potential onto it. I would assume mid lane, but at the same time, like, so Jace into Shen, Jace can push. Yeah. The trading against Shen is a little negligible just because of the way that you can deny with the W, but still Jace has an okay matchup. I think it will probably go mid. Depends on the rest of the bans here coming through. Millenium do ban out that Rumble. They don't want to have that Rumble into a tank matchup.
I think Kinguin, if I were them, I'd be saying, look, we banned 2 mid laners last time. Let's just ban the Cassio this time instead. We can leave Talia Rise up or ban Cassio Rise. Just get rid of Pretty's comfort champion and give him a Rise or something you could be a little bit more aggressive on. But they're going to focus out that support role. Thresh is an interesting one to me because Norscaran, although he is a very good Thresh, hasn't been playing that role in this team. He's been much more a facilitator for the rest of his team rather than the more aggressive, pick-orientated champions like Thresh.
Well, I mean, if Woolite and Delord are planning on being a little bit aggressive again, they don't really want to play into a Thresh with a Lulu. You get hooked, no sustain, and suddenly down you go, and you're not able to survive. And there you take away some of the sustain that was going to come through that did well into the Lulu last time.
So there is the Maokai ban alongside the Nami, as you say, taking away that sustain. Karma still on the cards here for Millenium, though, if they do want that as their support pick. Facilitates Pinoy once again in that role.
And this now gives them the counter pick on mid lane as well. So we're going to find out if that Jace is in the mid lane or whether it is flexing up to the top side. So Millenium are in a decent spot on the pacing of this draft. You know, they haven't shown too much. You've got a pushing bot lane. If they get a pushing mid lane against Jace, if it does end up being the Jace, then you can take full control of the bot side of the map.
Right, Cassiopeia is still available here for Pretty if he does want to go. They could basically run a carbon copy of their last team composition, except with the Cassio instead. Gragas locked in here. Okay. Now, we have seen this a couple of times in LCS recently. It hasn't tended to work that well.
No, it really... A lot of top laners kind of allude to it doing nothing. It used to be very good for starting fights and getting the setup of fights, but realistically, You've got to get out of the laning phase, and Shen's going to have more impact on starting, or at least helping in fights. It was the jungle pick that we still had remaining for Tabasco. This is a pick that I hope he'll be a little bit more active on. Normally Kha'Zix is an active pick, but at least he has to get into the lanes, otherwise there's really no point in picking this champion.
And the clear's pretty quick as well, and you've got Spiderlings to tank for you, so you don't need to be as scared of those Razor Beaks. But it's going to be Syndra here for Pretty, so we start to see him branch out from just that Cassio, pick up the Syndra, a very powerful mid lane pick, still not quite as strong as she used to be, but still incredibly potent in the right hands.
And a bit different from what we normally see Pretty tend towards. He tends towards those later game mages, so this time getting a little bit of earlier damage. This alongside Steel is the kind of platform they can build from, but it depends where Tabasco goes. If Tabasco can get into the mid lane, maybe land a cocoon on Pretty, force him to burn those summoners, come for a repeat gank, maybe Kinguin can get themselves a lead in game 2.
Millenium's composition, though, is still very similar to the composition we've seen them play time after time. You know, high DPS mid lane mage, Caitlyn, who's pretty safe with the Karma, you've got the Shen to protect him. What I like from Kinguin is they've said, okay, if you want to play this, we'll just take a top laner who can heavy engage onto your AD carry.
Yeah.
And say, we'll take Gragas, body slam, flash, barrel, you're hardly ever going to escape from that. Yeah,
that's the theory behind it. So we now have to watch Ice Beasto's teleports into this game. There were a couple. He had good TPs in the last game, but certainly wasn't game-changing for Kinguin. This time now, we'll have a look and keep our eyes on that Gragas in the top lane.
He's got a relatively safe top lane matchup as well into the Shen. Like, you're not really expecting either of those to dominate the lane. Like, they both push pretty well. It's fine.
Yeah, they both push fairly well. Like, Gragas will push it out with the barrel roll and be able to just kind of shove Mimic under tower for a while, and that should open up some of the top of the map. But bot side, you've got Syndra to dominate a little bit in the early game. You've got the Caitlyn, the Karma to push out in the bot lane themselves, and it makes it a big gap down in the bot side of the map for Steel to kind of go wherever he wants.
But there's a gap that Tabasco is going to be looking to fill and plug any leaking holes that he might see. If you guys want to get involved, make sure you tweet at us with hashtag EUCS. If you think Kinguin are going to tie up the series versus Millenium, use that hashtag KGN win. You think Millenium are going to round it out with their second 2-0 of the split. Hashtag MIL win alongside that. We're on to the Summoner's Rift as we get into the fourth game of the day, the second here between Millenium and Team Kinguin.
Just in time to get into game. I'm looking forward to this one again, see whether Pinoy and Norscarin in that bottom lane can punish Woolite and Delord, because last game was pretty rough out of Woolite and Delord, dying in lane level 3, or level 2 at 3 minutes in, with a little bit of help from Steel, was a large oopsie by the Polish team.
A large oopsie indeed. Now, Steel has been spotted on the top side of the map. Tabasco's up there as well, so they know that junglers are probably going to be starting on those top buffs, going down towards bot lane. Hopefully Tabasco this time doesn't take quite as much hurt as he goes through his jungle rotations. I'm not actually, I said he was spotted. I saw a ping on him. I'm not sure if they actually know he's there or if they're just assuming that he is there. Because there's no vision around there, so I think it's just an assumption.
Could be. There's only a few places you can be early on, so Millenium, both teams are going to spread out and not really going to have too much of an impact to start this out. So will Tabasco have to recall at level 2 again?
Let's hope not.
I hope not.
Let's hope not. Let's talk about mid lane matchups though, because Jace, so commonly banned, we hardly ever see him. And people used to talk about how Jace was strong in top lane because it's a long lane, you've got more space to try and angle your shock blast. In mid lane, it's a little bit more compact. The minions are more likely to block off those angles that you're looking for. Into a Syndra, how does this matchup play out in your opinion?
Well, Syndra, as with most lanes, is going to take advantage early on. The only time Sebex will get good trades early is if somehow Pretty makes a mistake and there's a bunch of autos that come through. Pretty should have the push early on as well, but Sebex will even that up the later the lane goes. As soon as your Shock Blast combos start doing significant amounts of damage, Syndra has to kind of cater herself in the lane away from trading against him. Kind of all-in potential. Double exhaust in this lane means the first all-in tends not to kill. It's the second one. You've got to burn through that exhaust first.
A lot of the time that's the story of mid lane as well, though. You go around, you get a gank off to get the summoners down, and then you come back for that repeat gank later on. Tabasco's done an entire clear of his topside jungle. Steel, instead of that, just going buff to buff. Well, he went buff to wolves to buff, so will be ever so slightly quicker on this jungle pathing, and it means he'll get Scuttle Crab priority as well, which gets him a little bit of vision in the river that is oh so desirable.
And you can see he's trying to come up towards mid lane. There is a bit of a push for Sebex. He's the one that has a bigger wave stacked. Tabasco has seen him. Did spot the ward that got placed as well. And now is where Woolite and Delord have to give at least a little respect over to Steel. Maybe can't be quite so aggressive. Delord did move up to put a ward down in the river bush, make sure they didn't get caught out.
And they are just constantly being harassed in this bottom lane as well, as you'd expect. Norscarin burning through his mana a little bit as he continually chucks out those inner flames. There's a big wave building up towards Woolite and D-Lord, so they won't want to take a trade, but Pinoy and Norscarin do. The chains lands, Pinoy goes on to D-Lord. Woolite doesn't land a deadly flourish, and Norscarin can step forward once again, and Mantrid in a flame will take Woolite low, but he's got Longsword 3 pots, so he'll just pop one of those to try and sustain.
Level 3 spike came through. That's a nice shock blast. That basically
Thread the needle.
Turns the lane around over the last minute or so. Bot lane, level 3 from Norscarin. As soon as they hit it, they went aggressive. Got the chains down onto Woolite and put the damage down as well. Woolite and Delord still a little against it with the amount of presence in the lane that Pinoy and Norscarin have. They're outputting a lot of damage. Ice Beast though taunts, body slams in, gets taunted. It's some rough trades early on in this top lane for Ice Beasto.
I think it will be for a little while. He'll probably build down that tank route. We tend to see Spirit Visage coming out on the Gragas because of the passive with the Happy Hour, giving you so much more sustain. Just increases that healing. Instead, he's going double Dorans just for the lane presence that he can get in some boots to get himself back there a little bit quicker, hoping not to have to burn his teleport. Well, Steel is on that top side of the map as well, so maybe Mook and Steel will look to impact Ice Beaster as soon as he comes back for that lane.
Woolite and Delord were looking to go aggressive in the lane, but the problem is Kinguin didn't actually know where Steel was. Tabasco in the jungle rappelled up to see whether the dragon was being done, or at least whether Steel was there. They've got the cocoon.
And Norscarin caught out, exhaust straight onto Tabasco and the trap. Denoy. Oh, Norscarin almost gets taken out with a Glitter Lance, but Millenium won't retreat. Do burn the heal and the exhaust though, and Kinguin are the ones who are aggressors in the bottom lane this game.
And Millenium maintain their flashes in the bottom lane, but that's a nice catch, sending Karma back. Caitlyn doesn't want to recall yet. If she recalls out this early on, you don't get that BF sword timing. You get a very awkward timing on your first item, and it really hinders her ability to harass and push in the lane. You can see Woolite is just going to try and push this out and get a recall, hopefully, before Pinoy can get to a point where they recall at the same time, but Pretty, not quite 6, can't capitalize in the mid lane himself.
All he needs is a little bit of harass, and then Sebex now has burnt through all of his potions. Pretty still sitting on a couple of those biscuits for himself, which means that Sebex needs to be careful of the unleashed power. Syndra's still the powerhouse she has always been. We'll see Norscarin looking for a bit of a flank here. Has already gone back. Woolite oversteps, steps in a trap as well. He's just going to get caught out. Hit the chains. Woolite does have flash if he wants to get away. Flourish onto Pinoy. No heal. The Whimsy down as well. Woolite steps forward once again. He's dead. He had heal and he dies. D-Lord had exhaust. Just overstepped by Kinguin, and Millenium now going to capitalize on it. D-Lord flashes away. TP in by Ice Beaster. He'll cancel that. And that's just poor positioning from Kinguin.
Disastrous from Kinguin, didn't use their summoners and died from it. Woolite stepped on a trap in the lane, and Millenium capitalized again. It's like watching game 1. The way that in the laning phase, Woolite and Delord just are not really up to scratch of Pinoy and Norscarin, and a lot of it is the fact they're just giving advantages over to Millenium.
It's surprising as well, because Woolite and D-Lord have always been consistent for Kinguin. Never a standout performance by either of them, but always strong in the lane, safe, able just to play these utility AD carries and work it for the late game for the team here. Once again, just caught out, and it was just an overstep. Ice Beaster's going to trade onto Mimic, but just handbag fight in the top lane.
Just throwing them around at each other up there.
Swinging them in.
Itemization-wise, no handbags, but a nice pair of shoes for Pinoy to go alongside a dagger, apparently. So he's just bought those level 2 boots already, wanting to get out onto the lane, get that attack speed increase, and wanting to move from lane to lane a little faster.
It's an interesting choice as well, because I'm pretty sure he picked up the BF sword and then undid it and decided to go for the Berserker Greaves instead. So prioritizing a little bit more attack speed and that speed around the map as well as you stay, instead of just the pure damage output you get from the BF sword.
Yeah, and Pinoy is down on CS still as well, despite that first kill going over to Northscarin in the lane. And Millenium just trying to make sure that they aren't getting pushed in or harassed down too much by Woolite and Delord. Will be able to try and push back, but very rare that a Caitlyn Karma lane is getting shoved in. They're having trouble with Woolite and Delord, at least when it comes to where the lane is positioned. And a lot of that is the fact that Tabasco has been on the bottom side, focusing vision control. You can see 2 wards, one in Tribush, one in the shallow entrance of Millenium's jungle. Just maintaining some control.
Now, Tabasco has had a better early game than he had in the last game, although still behind on CS, and we see Millenium pushing forward here, perhaps looking for that bot lane dive. Tabasco's around the corner.
Against Shen. Oh no, with the Shen.
Yeah, with
My
the
apologies.
Shen. But still, Ice Beasto actually doesn't have teleport at the moment. If he does, Gragas can have a huge impact in fights. Tabasco was expecting it. He was waiting around the corner, but now there's strong vision control for Millenium in that in that red side jungle of Kinguin, which just allows Steel to do whatever he really wants around this jungle.
They're trying to maybe catch Sebex on his way down to bot lane. The problem is because Millenium haven't shown anything on bot side, Sebex isn't moving in a pattern that would put him down in the bot lane himself. Mimic will taunt on Ice Beasto and take a trade again. No real action aside from that bot lane attempt earlier. And this is a slower one out of Millenium and Kinguin.
I think Millenium are happy for it to be slower, though. This suits their playstyle pretty well. Pretty late game. Syndra still has Unleashed Power, still has Press R, kill someone. Pinoy has the strength of the anti-siege and the siege potential that he gets from a Caitlyn, and we've seen them play this composition time and time again. Kinguin, it's on them. The impetus of this game is on them to make some plays. And we talked about Tabasco having the early game on this Elise. Once again, he goes low in his own jungle, and Steel just kills him. He's just dead once again.
They knew it was warded. Now Sebex in trouble.
Unleashed Power takes him down to half. The Stand United comes in as well. Mimic lands the taunt. Can't quite get the damage down, and now he's tanking tower. There's a TP in by Ice Beasto. He's going to try and join the party. Has Flash, has Body Slam, jumps onto Mimic. Uses the barrel, knocks him back. Sebex lands the Shockwave. The curtains open. Pretty just about gets off towards the side. And Kinguin are able to capitalize on an aggressive dive.
Aggressive overcommit in the mid lane. Pinoy wants to chase Woolite down, doesn't quite land the rest of the damage. And Millenium somewhat punished, but Tabasco, you know your jungle's warded. You just watched them trying to set up a play on the bot side, and you drop incredibly low on the Raptors, and it's a flash kick from Steel, just takes him out. Tabasco really having a rough series.
Exactly. We've had a lot of jungle substitutions over the Challenger Series split, and this almost feels like one. Pinoy continues to be aggressive, but this Tabasco is a very different player than the one we saw last week.
Yeah, now it's really difficult for Kinguin to play around that. I really don't understand why Tabasco is making a couple of these, blind mistakes.
Pretty is going to get caught out. He was trying to back, perhaps didn't realize Tabasco was on his way. Chucks the scuttle at him. Take a bit of crab, my friend. Does manage to escape. Looks
like Tabasco kind of, they saw Pretty move out of the lane, I think. And the ward, was he actually standing on a ward? I know that.
I placed that afterwards. It was just a prediction.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a control ward that was originally there. Prediction cocoon of obviously not wanting to face check. Tabasco sensed that Pretty was in there.
Well, it's a smart jungle move as well. We see it from Lee Sin's, chuck Sonic Waves into bushes to make sure that there's nothing that can catch them out. Tabasco just hasn't had the impact he really would have liked to have on this Elise. And conversely, Steel has been playing incredibly well, being in the right position at the right time, catching people out, playing the vision game, which is so vital at this sort of level of jungle. And once again, he's going to clear out wards, take the scuttle, set up for a Cloud Drake if he wants it.
Or not, if he doesn't want to.
I didn't see what Drake it was before I started that, and I was like, oh, it could be an Inferno, and there's it's a Cloud. They might look down towards bottom lane here.
Yeah,
just get the ward in.
Trying to see if anybody comes to ward, because normally you'll catch somebody coming through Tribush. And they get nothing.
It's smart play though. It's working the angles, working the vision, understanding where the enemy might be. I mean, you're a bit unfortunate that Woolite and D-Lord were both backing at that exact moment, so. But
also fortunate now because Millenium go for the dragon, put the pressure down in mid lane, and they're going to try and shove out bot at the same time. Icebeasto is recalling out from this, so maybe looking to try and defend on bot side here. He is pushing in. Karma Caitlyn are going down to the bot lane. Trying to even the push timing out. Karma and Caitlyn will push fairly quickly.
They will. Going to clear this wave. There's another wave coming in as well, and Steel is on his way, so might be the first turret going down here, unless Icebeasto can react quickly enough. He does, of course, have that explosive cast, but no flash. And actually, he's not even going to come up towards the turret. They just give this one up, and it looks like they'll get one in return in the top lane. But first tower blood goes down for Millenium. Yeah,
Millenium get it way faster than Kinguin could, and Kinguin were the ones that made the play first. Remember, the Dragon also went over to Millenium on this exchange as well. Steel is looking to assume control of the bot side jungle, as Pretty has pushed up mid lane as well. They know that there's no possible reaction yet from Kinguin. Icebeasto wants to try and stop this, but
it's pretty difficult to do when the entirety of the enemy team is just waiting around the corner. Millenium have had good control of that jungle. Kinguin happy to, not happy, but will be okay giving it up for the moment. They're just trying to get what they can where they can, scaling up towards these Yumu's spikes. You know, we've already got one on Jhin, starting to see some lethality on the Jace as well. Mid-game, they have an incredibly powerful team, but Millenium with this Syndra kind of pad out their mid-game a little bit more than if they were playing the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, certainly do. Pretty, if you can find Sebex before a fight starts, or even find Woolite, get that unleash power down, chunk him out, and that means you can't siege effectively if you're always under the threat of death. So Kinguin still have a lot of work to do in this game. They are trailing by 1,000 gold right now, and of course that Cloud Drake should allow Millenium to at least start fights a little faster.
But in Picks and Bans, we were talking about how we saw Millenium and Kinguin as, you know, third, fourth, fifth place teams, and I feel this game is a superb example of why they're not challenging for those top spots.
Yeah.
It's slow, it's methodical, but it's not step-by-step methodical. It's they're waiting until the enemy makes a mistake, or they're waiting until perhaps they get a little bit more damage on a turret. There's no proactive, logical play from them. It's all just like, we'll put a ward here, maybe someone will get caught out, we'll play it slow in the bottom lane. And against teams like Schalke, this would be punished.
It would be, and you know what it actually feels like? It feels like both teams have obviously been studying and watching enough VODs and looking at how the top teams do things, and they're just trying to go through the motions of what was being done, rather than having the understanding. Whereas I feel like, to some extent, when Schalke were playing earlier, they had the understanding of why you're making that play, of why you're going for the dive under the tower, how to set that up. This feels like two teams that are trying to just do rather than understand. It
reminds me of Bob Ross. And this is going to sound like an odd analogy, right?
Okay.
But if you paint along with Bob Ross and you do everything he says, at the end of it, you can get a great painting.
Okay.
But you can't make a painting out of nothing, which is what Schalke do. So Millenium, they understand, like they've got Schalke or they've got an analyst saying this is what you should do step by step by step. And at the end of it, it looks like a clean game, perfect game, they played it right, that's fine. And that can work. But when you play against the higher level teams who can create a strategy on the fly, that's when you need to understand why you're painting those pretty little trees and why everyone needs a friend.
I see what you mean. There's an angry spider coming up towards some trees at this point. We'll see how that ends.
Pretty is looking for it, catches him out, steals there once again, takes the kill for himself.
That one doesn't matter whether you're Bob Ross or whatever kind of masterpiece you're creating. It's an easy pickup for Tabasco. There's no spiders on that painting anymore. It's kind of like that old adage of, you know, give a man a fish, he'll, what is it?
He'll eat for a day, teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it just feels like these teams not quite at the cutting edge of like, understanding the plays and the setup for all of it. Because now, like, look, Millenium, they get the tower, it's great. It's a good setup for them. They get mid-tower. Against Jace, that's a fairly significant tower to take down. But Millenium, they're going to back away and reset themselves.
I think it's important as well to say that you have to start somewhere. Like, if you're starting somewhere, is the baby steps of we do this, we do this, we do that, we do this, that's fine. It's just you need to make sure you're progressing there and you're understanding why you're doing it, which is not quite what I see from Millenium yet. However, week 1 they were very poor, week 2 they were pretty strong, and week 3 they're looking ever so slightly stronger than that, except Pinoy gets caught out, Norscarin comes in to tank up the shots, tanks 1, tanks 2, tanks 3, and Pinoy will escape.
Oh, Tabasco is looking around the side. Pinoy actually net into one of the shock blasts that came out there. So Kinguin trying to answer the mid push, but you can see it's very, very stale. Top side has been pushed out. Pretty gets caught this time. Millenium have to start dodging. Like, they cannot afford to be hit by all of these, you know, projectiles, because now Kinguin answer back in what should have been a very difficult play to make. Kinguin land 2 shock blasts, and suddenly the tower goes down as well.
And the rest of the team isn't there to try and back up the
Mimic
defense
has to move.
either. Yeah, Mimic is moving immediately. The pathing actually, he's moving back though.
Oh, because he thinks Tabasco is coming instantly. He saw the ward go over the wall and thinks Tabasco is instantly coming into the lane, so he has to play this fairly carefully. Nobody from Millenium is defending this play, and they're not getting anything elsewhere on the map. Because Kinguin pushed the top side out, Millenium focused on mid, didn't have anything else to take. And there's no real way. I mean, Millenium are very, you know, ambitiously pinging on top tower. When you have 2, like a full wave and a second one that's going to come through before you're ever getting to that tower, pretty likely cannot push this tower down on his own.
And Ice Beast has teleport even if you get there
exactly.
in time. I mean, Pinoy and Norscarin are on their way up there, and it actually looks like the reaction from Kinguin is just to let it go because no one is pathing up towards that top side. So Kinguin perhaps not understanding exactly what Millenium were going to do.
Kinguin didn't take the Drake on the way out either, so now Lee Sin walks in, takes the Drake solo. That should be punished. That shouldn't be possible when you had 5 people on the bot side from Kinguin, a teleport available, and you have all of this damage down. This is the problem, is like Kinguin just back away, they go, okay, we got the tower, not looking at what else they can get on the map.
And Millenium ended up actually not even taking the top tower because it'd been so long since they were pushed up that far that all of their vision had expired. So they had no idea where Kinguin were. They could have all been just waiting in a bush somewhere around the jungle. Now we'll see Steel stepping into the jungle. It's exactly reverse of what Tabasco and D-Lord are doing here. If you split the map down the middle, it's symmetry in motion between these two teams. But Sebex and Wooler are going to come and try and defend this top lane tower.
And see, they've put now Pretty again up in the top lane, pushing through. They can't get the tower just on their own. Sebex will be able to defend this. And again, we're stalled. We're into a holding pattern on this game. Steel wants to try and dive. We'll see what the Sebex... He misses the Q at that point, when the Sebex is fine here. They force the teleport out. That shouldn't complete. They end up cancelling it. I think once that Q had missed, I don't even know whether the teleport was entirely necessary out of Ice Beast.
I think it came as the Q was sort of missing. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, okay, I really shouldn't have done this. And it is a cooldown, of course, but reduced because he cancelled it.
Yep.
It looks like Kinguin are going to set up around that mid lane. They have got great vision control at the moment. Well, I say great. They've got vision control at the moment of that blue side jungle. Steel once again looks for Sebex. Doesn't go for the kick, and they will get the tower. So Steel staying around means they can take this tower down.
But Kinguin... I mean, they haven't replied with the fact that Steel's been topside for the last minute and a half. There's nothing that Kinguin have been able to do. Despite having full vision on the bot side jungle, they lost their teleport. And, I mean, they never really have teleport advantage against the Shen because of Stand United.
Oh, Tabasco, Unleash Power, repels up. Here's the curtain call. Steel and Pretty trying to dodge out from the side. Stand United comes down as well, and Sebex overextended into the fight. Norscarin tries to get the tether. Steel takes the kill. He'll fall as well, though. Here's Pinoy. 2-for-1 trade now in favor of Millenium. And it looks like Ice Beast is just fighting up against Mimic. I think he may have cancelled the Stand United out. Mimic's going to have to try and run away. Knocked back once again. Flashes.
Mimic was respecting a body slam flash coming over the wall there. Didn't want Ice Beasto to catch him out and get a kill. Mimic still has his teleport advantage, and that's one of the things that Kinguin have to play around, because Mimic is going to recall out here. No smite available since there's no jungler for Steel, so I doubt they'll go for the Baron. But they can get vision control around it and look to push Kinguin back.
Something Millenium are very good at doing is funneling farm onto their carries. So if you look at Pretty and Pinoy, last game 30 minutes, they both had over 300 CS. This game, we're 20 minutes in, they both got over 200 CS. So they are good at getting gold onto the sources that need it. And the Pretty now has that Leandres alongside the Morello Nomicon to try and melt through this Kinguin lineup.
And now this is the thing that that I wonder whether they can do against a team like Schalke, because Millenium have been very slow on this game. They've not really dictated the pace a whole lot. And I think stronger teams will punish, and punish effectively. I've got some good news for you.
Hey, it's a proto belt.
Yeah, it turns out your premonition earlier was 3 games too early.
Hey, you know, you can't predict exactly when it's going to happen.
I know,
Stress.
right?
It's a gift I can't control, you know, it just happens on occasion. But
At some point, proto belt
on Elise
was going to be made.
There we go, and it was second item as well, so fits right into that position. Now, Millenium trying to just set up vision once again around the Baron, as you were saying. However, Steel takes a shock blast to the face. He's going tanky on this Lee Sin, which I really like. We saw the last game, I believe he went for the Black Cleaver.
Yeah.
This game, he's gone up towards that Randuin's or Dead Man's Plate probably as well. Tabasco's going to get caught out. He will just repel up, jumps over to Norsgaren, flashes the wall. Pinoy channels the ace in the hole. Here's the curtain call though, and Steel has the wall jump away, but he's caught in the pit with the Baron. Steel's realized he hasn't really got anywhere to go, and Kinguin will take him out.
That was nice. Woolite aggro's the Baron for Steel, says, hey, this is what you were looking for, wasn't it? And lets him die to the spikes at the back of the Baron pit. Kinguin, a little bit of a fancy outplay. Mimic didn't use Stand United at all to try and save, and now the traps are out to try and save this one as Millenium are trying to stay under the tower.
Kinguin do take towers very quickly with the Jace as well. You got
Chase 4v5.
Mimic's there, he comes in from the side, trying to land the taunt, flash away by Woolite. Wild Growth as well, Mimic hots down the Spirit's Refuge, Pinoy knocked in, Stand United straight away, and look at the kill, D-Lord's dead! And now Millenium could try and re-engage, I'm not sure they have the range for it though. Kinguin will back away after losing their support. Yeah,
with no flash on Mimic, they weren't really able to close that gap. Millenium are going to try and at least maintain control. Pinoy. Now they don't get Baron control.
Don't get control of much at all. And this is something we did see last week as well. The Schalke PSG game. PSG were miles ahead. Well, far enough ahead. 8 kills to 1 at the time. And then they went for a Baron after taking down Selfie. It cost them dearly because the Jace damage from downtown was absolutely huge. And it's always a risk when you play into a Jace, into a Jhin. If you go for a big objective, well, might get caught out slightly here. The ace in the hole comes down. Tabasco cuts it up. Good Dragon's Rage kick will knock them both up. Steel still looking for it, but decides better of it as he sees the Kinguin reinforcements arrive.
And this is the thing, rather than swinging over and clearing out a couple of the wards that are still around, Millenium with Steel choose to just go aggressive. They think that they can find Woolite, but don't actually have the numbers, or at least a read on how many people are there. And it's wasted time like this. Every time they have one of these setups where Millenium can go aggressive, they're not quite doing the due diligence on you know, can we actually take this fight? Can we clear these wards? Where should we be going?
With another, well, first Ocean Drake of the game on the cards. Millenium set up for it once again. It will be their 3rd Drake if they get it. Mimic's still down in that bottom lane. He's got a massive wave there pushing up with him. And now Kinguin try and stop this one from happening. There's a back coming out, I think, from Pinoy. So he's not actually going to be with this fight. And Millenium might just decide they don't want to go for the dragon for the time being.
And the thing is, Kinguin aren't doing anything from this. They go, oh, okay, they're not taking the dragon. We'll, both of us will rush down to the bottom lane. Look at this, they're fighting. Like, Woolite actually popped his Ghost Blade because he was trying at first to go to the bot lane, realizes that Ice Beasto's going there, so kind of pieces out and takes the red. But Kinguin, they finally get a little bit of vision control. Now they've cleared out the Baron buff wards, the Baron pit wards at least, and settled a couple of wards there of their own.
This is the slow play we've come to expect from Millenium, not so much from Kinguin, in all honesty. It's usually Tabasco dictating the pace of these games, and today he seemed surprisingly absent in a lot of the early games. Pretty takes some poke, Deadly Flourish, not going to connect. Pretty deciding against getting the Seeker's Arm Guard into this Jace, instead going for the raw damage that you get from Leandres and Morello Nomica. Yeah,
of course, tried earlier getting from that Haunting Guys, getting a little bit of survivability with the extra help, but accounts a lot more for that Magic Pen. Ice Beasto not having the most success on this Gragas, hasn't really offered too much. A couple of fights that he's been disruptive in, but not really a massive impact champion. They're going to try a Baron trade on this?
It looked like it. I think they're just going for a Baron Vision trade.
Yeah, they're just going to get the Vision. I'm glad they're not going to go aggressive on that. But Kinguin finally find the opening.
But the thing is, they found the opening, but they didn't really do a huge amount to find the opening. It's just the fact that you saw Pretty in the top lane. It's like, okay, So Drake, like, they can't fight us 4v5.
Yep.
It's an even game. It's only 1,000 gold the difference between the two of us.
Yep, without Syndra, there's no way that they can fight. And you can see Kinguin, while they didn't have a proper read on whether the Baron had been started, it's still just a shock blast. And then they check it. It's easy. They know they're not there. Millenium couldn't get anything else. Slowed down again on this game.
So we are, yeah, as you say, 27 minutes in, relatively so, only 9 kills in it, only 1,000 gold between the two teams, but we're now starting to see some spikes of damage coming out from Kinguin. They've got Edge of Night finished on the Jhin and on the Jace. They've got those Yumus finished as well. They've got triple tank items for Icebista, so he is that front line for the team. And
realistically, this is not quite how Millenium as an organization would like their team to be performing. When you look at their lineage over the last couple of splits, when they re-entered Challenger, Millenium looked very, very strong. They were the strongest team we had, dominated the regular split, but as soon as it got to playoffs, it all fell apart. They just couldn't really perform when it came to playing on the stage, and since that, they lost a couple of players, went through the next split, lost more players coming into this split, and now we actually have to question, like, they don't seem like a top 2 or top 3 team in Challenger, like maybe 3rd spot.
See, the thing is, if Fnatic Academy still had Boxer, I would say they didn't. But now that Fnatic Academy aren't looking as strong as they are, and PSG, who were the hyped-up team before the split started, have looked, in all honesty, underwhelming.
Yeah.
I think Millenium still have a shot at that 2nd or 3rd spot, but not because they're playing to the degree that Schalke are, just because they're playing better than the rest of the teams. Dragon's Rage kicked onto Tabasco, tries to knock him back. He's going to see if he can jump away, flashes. Sonic Wave doesn't connect. The Stand United comes in though, and Woolite may be overextended here. Icebista joins. As you say, they're overreaching. Icebista jumps in. The knockback. Pinoy has to flash. Mimic the front line. Icebista trying to do what he can here, and here comes the curtain call. Pinoy takes one. Mimic takes another. Pinoy takes the 3rd and dodges the 4th, but Mimic will go down. Team Kinguin collapse. Sebex tries to get onto Pinoy, can't quite make the connection, but Pinoy now stuck on the wrong side of the rift. And Sebex will chase him down. Hello, my friend, he says. Kills the Caitlyn.
Easy kill, and Kinguin punish Millenium for overreaching on that fight. As soon as they missed the first couple of pieces of that, crowd control, Millenium should just back themselves away. Sebex now has to deal with Steel.
Unleashed power comes out, Steel's dead, and that means the Baron's a lot easier, but the rest of Kinguin have jumped onto Pretty. Deadly Flourish in as well. Icebista will help Woolite take the kill, and now the Baron's a lot easier for Kinguin. Sebex goes incredibly low to it, as does Tabasco. Icebista says, it's all right, guys. I can tank up a few shots myself. They'll take the Baron, they'll take the fight, and they'll take the lead in this game.
Millenium, from being in the advantageous position, just overreaching. Kinguin punished them, and from what was a game that Millenium looked to be in control of, Kinguin have really bounced back, and now with this Jace, with this Jhin, they should be able to siege up on towers fairly effectively. And finally, we saw the impact from Icebista. What a beautiful ultimate. Body slam flash into the ult. Gets both Pinoy, Steel, everybody low and pushed into the fight. And from there, just a matter of the curtain call. It's a lot of damage down onto Pinoy and Mimic. Didn't matter that Pinoy managed to dodge the last one because he got spotted going over the wall, and now he's probably about to die in a 1v1.
Yeah, Icebista should be able to take him out, knocks him back with the explosive cast. The curtain call will come down as well. Pinoy not in the position he would like to be against that Gragas.
The Fat Man not tempted by Yodel Cupcakes. Didn't step on the traps, easy dodges through. And Kinguin look like they're going to wrap this game up. They're going to be able to get an inhibitor, surely. I mean, Mimic is down on the bottom lane, pushing out to deter the next push. But that was going to be top inner. It's going to be top inhib tower going down by the looks of things. Then mid inner as well. This is a significant push from Kinguin.
Yeah, look at the amount the gold has swung as well. Millenium a few minutes ago were 1,000 ahead, and now it's 4,000 in favor of Kinguin. They get an inhibitor. They're going to get another tower off this as well. And the early game stretched by Millenium, the delaying of this game has not helped them a jot. Kinguin just take whatever they want out of the base of Millenium.
Kinguin in a good spot now after a very, very rough game and a half. I mean, Sebex now 5-1-2 in a really good spot. Woolite just picks up the Duskblade on top of his previous items. And if Millenium can somehow weather the storm over the next 2 minutes, maybe they can hold on. Another good fight maybe Pinoy can turn back around. He's got a 55 CS advantage, has that Infinity Edge, building towards his third item, has a bit of a mix and match on the cards, but Millenium need a good team fight to hold on to this game.
And the problem is that last team fight just felt forced from them. They overreached.
Yep.
As soon as Woolite was out of the back of the fight and wasn't being pressured, he could just open up the curtain call, and Millenium were running for the hills, just trying to get out of there. And the problem always is going to be Ice Beasto getting onto your backline. If he's able to get there, there's so little Kinguin can do, because the disengage from Karma isn't as strong perhaps as someone like the Nami or the Lulu. And Millenium will just try and fight off towards the side. I thought that was a Gragas explosive cast for a second. It was actually just the boss cone. But 5,000 gold now the lead for Kinguin as they start to close out this game.
They got another tower using this Baron buff. There's a Dragon Live. This one, it's finally an interesting one. Infernal Drake dies very quickly.
All dragons are interesting, okay? Don't be Dragonist. Like, you've got 2 Cloud Drakes. That meant Millenium could rotate quicker and try and get some objectives.
That's fair. That's fair. They tried. It didn't help them starting that fight.
Didn't work, but yeah. I think the Infernal Drake perhaps has a more obvious impact on the game than the Cloud or the Ocean, but Kinguin will be happy to have that. And you have to think that it is Kinguin's game to lose from here on out. Although the Caitlyn is getting up towards that 4-item spike that you speak of, you do have almost a Locket of the Iron Solari on Norscarin, you've got Void Staff, a huge amount of magic penetration from Pretty, and a big tank in that Shen. Millenium haven't been able to get this composition to work in the way that it usually does for them.
Gragas got that redemption as well. You know, it makes it difficult to kill. That's why you're seeing a Mortal Reminder come through from Pinoy. Feels like we're so close to Kinguin tying up this series. Of course, best of 2 would be our first tie.
It would be. And it would make the point standings very interesting indeed. The curtains open once again. Pinoy takes up a couple of shots. Look at the damage on him. He's down to half. Here comes Ice Beasto, jumps in. Stand United, the turret not dead yet. Ice Beasto with a wild growth on him as well. Now back away for the time being. Happy with the cooldowns they get. There's the first redemption. Ice Beasto still has his own. Just waiting for the minions to come in. Super's pushing in top lane as well. Pretty looking for a flank, trying to catch someone out. Tabasco cocoons him.
Oh, they call Woolite!
Woolite's dead. Norscarin gets him. However, Pretty's fallen in response. Pinoy gets jumped on by Ice Beasto. Mimic in the backline trying to do what he can, but Kinguin collapses onto him. Sebex chucks down the hammer and Mimic has to flash away. And even a 1-for-1 trade, but Kinguin aren't done quite yet.
See if Sebex can land another Shock Blast combo. It would be enough to take out Norscarin, perhaps.
Doesn't quite get it, but they do get the tower now. The inhibitor will get down as well. Super's eventually getting up towards those Nexus turret. Mimic still has the GA, as does Ice Beasto. Steel looking for the flank, but the minions are in the way. Here's Pinoy, though. He's going to try and melt through the enemy team. Kinguin going low. Sebex gets onto Steel. Ice Beasto on Pinoy. Pinoy's dead. Ice Beasto takes him down with his belly. And now Mimic trying to run away in the GA. D-Lord flashes in. Glitterlance slow gets the kill. Norscarin, the last member standing, flashes from the explosive cast, but Kinguin will take down the Nexus towers and they'll take the win and even out the series against Millenium.
One bad fight from Millenium turned this game completely around. Kinguin with an easy finish after taking that Baron. You just take all the towers, move to bot lane, and honestly, Millenium were just trying to fight, all in bad situations. And it just wasn't really clean at any point from either team.
It felt very different to the Millenium we've seen when they win as well, because they're happy to let the enemy team just engage on them, keep Pinoy alive, and then say, okay, we'll counter-engage. And there, they were very much forcing the fight, as you say, and they overreached to try and get onto Woolite. It just didn't work for them.
Yeah, the setups were messy, and I mean, Kinguin closed out the game. It wasn't a pretty game overall for them, but being able to capitalize on Millenium making that mistake, recognizing that Millenium were reaching way too far on that fight and turning it back around, that was one of the first performances on the Gragas top lane that we've actually seen be that effective.
Yeah. And it worked out well for them. I really like it as a pick in that specific composition. I don't think it's a pick you can use in many other ways. I think it has to be to try and catch someone on the back. So it works for Jhin as well, you could say, with the curtain call coming out. If you can actually get there, you can snipe someone off. But neither of these teams showing us something that really makes me motivated to follow them in like an aggressive fashion. It's not like Schalke, who I think we all agree are probably going to be #1. These guys are middle of the pack at best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's, you know, it's kind of maybe the worst thing that can happen for both teams is a tie on that series, because now neither of them really have that burst of acceleration up the table. They just edge a little further up. Now they're on 4 points instead of 3 points, so
but it's still
stuck in the middle of the table.
Points do matter. Points do matter. We still have 9 points available for both these teams as well. Well, it's 2 down and 1 to go for us today. Up next, our final match of the week between Paris Saint-Germain and Misfits Academy. We'll see you in 210 seconds. Woolite oversteps, steps in a trap as well. He's just going to get caught out. Hit the chains. Woolite does have flash if he wants to get away. Flourish onto Benoit. No heal. The Whimsy down as well. Woolite steps forward once again. He's dead. He had heal and he dies. Dion had exhaust. If you paint along with Bob Ross and you do everything he says, at the end of it, you can get a great painting.
Okay.
Oh, Tabasco, Unleash Power, repels up, here's the curtain call. Steel and Pretty trying to dodge out from the side. Stand United comes down as well, and Sebex overextended into the fight. Norscarin tries to get the tether. Steel takes the kill, he'll fall as well, though here's Pinoy. Sebex will chase him down. Hello, my friend, he says. Kills the Caitlyn, trying to catch someone out. Tabasco cocoons him.
Oh, they call Woolite.
Woolite's dead. Norscarin gets him. However, Pretty's fallen in response. Pinoy gets jumped on by Ice Beast, so Mimic in the backline trying to do what he can, but Kinguin collapses onto him. Sebex chucks down the hammer and Mimic has to flash away, but Kinguin will take down the Nexus Towers and they'll take the win and even out the series against Millenium.